Okay, and of course, that was that clip of all the people in Korea crying because their dear leader departed. And we saw the beginning of that Hillary Clinton dressed in purple, because whenever she bothers to comb her hair and go outside the apartment, she always wears purple now, because that's the way they're going to roll. Look, we have to understand the narrative and how this thing has progressed. Understand that at the very next day after the election, what do we have? We had riots. Then they moved from that to recounts. And now we have this attack with the Electoral College. Remember, first it was an attack on the Electoral College. They said, how dare we even have an Electoral College? How undemocratic to have an Electoral College. Why don't we just have the people make the decision? And now look at what they've done. They flipped it. They said, no, we need the Electoral College to make the correct decision and overrule what the people voted for, state by state. That's what these electors here in Texas and other places are saying. We don't care that there were millions of Texans who voted for Donald Trump. No, the guy who wasn't on the ballot, the elector that I didn't see on the ballot, is going to say, no, I'm going to make the decision for you because you didn't get the right answer. Same thing we saw at the Republican convention, pushing the delegates to do that, the elites doing that. They came out, they said, we don't want to have an electoral college because it's undemocratic, and now they want to throw away your democratic vote using the electoral college. You see how they switch it? Remember how they were talking about how globalism was nothing but a conspiracy theory? Then during this election, they came out and they said, no, globalism is a good thing. You should want globalism. Look at all the advantages of globalism. And then when they got defeated on globalism versus Americanism, they came back and said globalism is a conspiracy theory again. See, they change whatever they're saying to fit their agenda time and again. And we need to understand, when we look at what happened with the NDAA, and again, you want to talk about fake news? Let's talk about the NDAA. That is fake security. It's not real security. When they take away your Fourth Amendment, when they take away your due process, when they say we're going to have indefinite detention without trial, that's fake security. When you sacrifice your liberty, when you sacrifice your fundamental human rights, your protections against government abuses for the promise of security, you'll never get safe. You'll never have security. As I've said many times, when you give up your liberty and your freedom and your dignity as a human being, to that extent, you become a nameless slave. And nameless slaves are never safe. They're never secure. And yet we have these same people like Senator Rob Portman, who, if you remember going back to the election, he came out and he endorsed Donald Trump. And then the beginning of October, he said, no, I have to withdraw my support of Donald Trump. This is the same guy who's a co-author of this propaganda bill, turning the State Department into a ministry of truth. How Orwellian. Listen to this. The State Department is going to coordinate and synchronize counter-propaganda efforts. Again, this is an article by Zero Hedge that's up on Infowars.com. Senate quietly passes the quote-unquote Countering Disinformation and Propaganda Act. This was something that was put together by Rob Portman and a Democrat, Chris Murphy of Connecticut. They put this thing together, and then on Thursday, before the vote on Friday for the NDAA, they quietly snuck this thing in. So they can stick all this stuff in to these security bills, because they know that virtually everybody is going to vote for the Defense Authorization Act. That's what funds the military. So they load this up, not with pork spending anymore, but with liberty-killing amendments, the place where they hung out with the indefinite detention. Now they're sticking in the Orwellian Truth Department, okay, that's going to put out fact-based narratives. And of course, this is all going to save us from foreigners using fear of others. You know, the Auslander, that's the way the Germans did it. That's the way Adolf Hitler did it. You know, the foreigner. Got to save us from the foreigners. So they're going to set up the State Department. They're going to coordinate and synchronize counter-propaganda efforts. Well, those are actually propaganda efforts, aren't they? They're not truth. They're going to be the ones who determine what is fact and what is fake. And they're going to fund this, guess what? Through contracts to NGOs. Does that sound familiar? That's the way George Soros operates in his color revolutions, is through NGOs. And of course, it's also the way George Soros operates to delegitimize elections. That's where the color revolutions always began. We've been saying this from right after the election. As soon as they started the riots, we said, oh, this looks familiar, doesn't it? Getting irate, ignorant, useful idiots, college students typically, because that's the best way to describe most of the college students, using them to start a revolution and to say that the election is not legitimate. So they've moved from riots to recounts And now they're moving to the Electoral College saying, well, you know, we didn't like that Electoral College. We just wanted to have a direct election. But now we're going to throw out the votes of the general people. Listen to what they're saying. They're going to fund and train local journalists. They're going to provide grants. This is State Department. They're going to provide grants and contracts to NGOs, to civil society organizations, to think tanks, to private sector companies, to media organizations and other experts outside the U.S. government, but people who will be part of the U.S. government's propaganda expert. They're going to privatize. It's going to be a public-private partnership for propaganda. That's precisely what this is, folks. You want to know what it is? That's what it is. That's the thing we have to watch out for when it comes to our infrastructure, these private-public partnerships, which is just a fancy name for crony capitalism. Well, what they're going to do is they're going to create a private-public partnership for propaganda, the PPPP. That's what it's really going to be. Let's just talk about it and understand that's where this is. And let's understand that this is not a reaction to the hack of the DNC emails. This has been in development for multiple years. This has been in development since before I came to InfoWars, and I've been here for 4 years. And then it hit the big time in 2013 when they repealed the Smith-Mundt Act, which authorized Voice of America and these other propaganda organizations, but said, no, you're not going to put that fake crap here in America. But now they want the fake crap here in America. They want to fund it big time, big league, okay? Big league.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You gonna sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you gonna be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.